lots of sleep and dreaming research. I've done sleep and memory research for many years and sleep, memory and dreaming research for many years. And having had just now this excellent talk just now about the relationship between sleep and mental health, and sleep and memory, and what sleep does, the question that's really on my mind, and might be on yours as well, is given that we dream at the same time as all these clever processes are happening, does the dream do anything while you're asleep for those things? So that's the big question. That's what this dream research talk is going to be about. There's a ton of dream research being done worldwide at the moment, but I'm going to get back to that big question instead of it. So I just want to, there's things such as Karen Coley, who was here for a while, wasn't she? She's a fantastic person. And she's now doing very well in America. She got a current biology paper with a vast team from different labs in which they managed to communicate with people who are having lucid dreams. So two-way communication during sleep. You get the person to work out questions and they signal back to you with their eyes. So totally fantastic. Other stuff, we now know, or we're pretty sure, which areas of the brain cause dreams to be created. This is lesion work, where if you've got brain damage in these two areas, they stop dreaming. Alternatively, if you look at those areas with imaging, those areas are more active in high dream recallers, dream recallers who dream a lot. So we're pretty much sure that an area at the front of the brain gets your motivations, your memories, your wishes, your concerns, and passes it back to an area more concerned with imagery. And so that seems to be the process that's going on. So we know how dreams are produced. I'm going to get back to the why in a moment. There's even been a paper in Nature Neuroscience about the hot zone at the back of the brain, which switches on and off when dreaming happens, or it causes dreaming to happen. And that's during REM and non-REM sleep. That works as well. Again, big question of why is it doing that? If you're really interested in all this book is probably one of the best on the neuroscience and a whole load of quantitative work on dream content by Bill Domhoff, who's at University of California. Absolutely massive book, and it's got research into dreams in children, quantitative study of content analysis of groups, whole massive populations, what their dreams are like, and a whole load of neuroscience as well. So that book by Bill from MIT Press is the best one to get. Now, Bob Stickold, I'm sure some people have heard of Bob Stickold, who's a major sleep researcher, who's also interested in dreaming. And he put forward, this is the best paper to read on this with Erin Wansley, and they put this forward back in 2011. It's still the best paper, pretty much the best paper. For those who think that dreams do something for you during the night and do something for the brain, and they have a function, they have a role during the night, this is one of the best papers to read. And what he's saying is, when you dream, your dream is the experience of consolidation. So what we've been listening to earlier on, about all the things sleep is doing, he is saying, when you dream, that is the experience of your brain doing all of these types of things. So I was at a conference with him quite a few years back, because we were both putting forward a grant together, and he came up with this quip, and he said, dreaming is the poor man's fMRI. So, in other words, if you want to work out what someone's doing when they're asleep and what their brain is doing, ask them what their dreams are, and that will tell you. Now, he knew, because he's a clever guy, he knows that that's a sort of a rhetorical point. We're not quite sure that the dream is related to these processes. But that's the really best paper for putting that forward. We've done stuff on that at the Swansea lab of looking at brain waves, and the theta wave, which is memory related, is correlated with the amount of the dream that refers to your memories from the previous day. So there's a bit of evidence in favour of what he says. However, this has come out in this has just come out in Sleep just year before last, in which Erin Wansley did a meta-analysis of all the studies which have looked at if you teach somebody something, get them to nap or sleep, test them again there. Are the people who dream of that material then better able to remember it. So the dream has done something, possibly, or it's just correlational with it. And in this meta-analysis, she got people where there had been multiple awakenings in the sleep period to find what the dream is, or just one awakening at the end. And you could measure how much is this task incorporated into the dream content. So she did all these measures, and lots of studies have done this. And what she found in the end was that effective sleep stage, non-REM dreams are related to improvements in memory across a nap or across sleep. But REM dream content isn't. So this goes against many people who've been saying that, because there's so much emotional processing going on in REM sleep, there is some in slow wave sleep as well, but in REM sleep, maybe the REM dreams are related to that memory processing. And she's saying, no, if you actually get the dreams and relate it to the morning performance, there isn't actually a relationship there. Somehow you've produced this story, this emotional story, and it is often about things that are on your mind, but it might not be related to what the brain is processing during the night. Or it might be related, but it doesn't actually help the processing. There's an excellent review just come out last year by Bloxham and Horton, and they've gone through all the problems with the claims that, from experiments where they found that dream content is related to an improvement in performance. So for a few years it really did look like, yes, we're onto something there. But the doubts are now coming in with the literature. So for some reason people are producing these stories. Well, we'll get onto that in a moment, either for no reason or for other reasons. So there's a big question, do dreams have a function? And there are two types of theories historically over many decades that the scientific literature has spoken about. The first one is that dreams, and this is even dreams that you don't remember when you wake up, right? So they've happened during the night while you've been asleep, the dream has ended, that's it, no memory of it. Even those dreams are processing our memories or emotions. Or under one theory, Ravonsua, they're a type of virtual reality in which you practice overcoming threats. So it's an environment in which you throw spears at people or elephants or whatever, or try and work out what you would do if you fell off a cliff. So it's a virtual reality theory in which they look at threats and say, well, you dream of threats and you practice overcoming them in your dreams. And these days we've got threats which are egotistical threats from other people. So we may have highly social dreams in which we dream of interacting with other people. And what we're doing is we're practicing what would happen if this person was angry with me. What would it be like if I threatened this other person or consult them or something like that? And so we're practicing all this social life in our dreams. So says Ravonsua, Nielsen and Levy. The idea, and it was mentioned earlier on, that we dream of our fears so as to decrease the emotion in the fears. Stickold and Walker, both doing work saying that dreams are the experience of memory consolidation. The alternative to that is the idea that we don't dream for any reason, as in any purpose at all. Dreams are epiphenomena. In other words, they're a byproduct. They're like the sort of smoke or the noise that comes off a factory. And it doesn't actually do anything itself. It shows you the factory's working, so the dream shows you your brain's working, but that's it. There are various authors to do with this. Domhoff, despite the fact that he's writing all these books, and since the 1960s he's done all these papers on dreaming and content analysis of dreams, and he's still very hard-working in his 80s, he actually doesn't believe dreams do anything for you. He believes that they are a byproduct of the fact that we have imagination when we're awake, and we have the default network when we're awake, which is the basis for mind wandering and creativity. And it just carries on when we're asleep. It doesn't do anything. when we're asleep, because we can't remember what the products are most of the time, but it just is a byproduct of what we've evolved to have. So says Bill Domhoff. Similarly, Flanagan's done a major book called Dreaming Souls on this, and it's the dreams for these people are a byproduct of our waking imagination and processes we've evolved to have in our waking life. That's where they work, and they just haven't evolved out from their sleep because we're paralysed a lot of the time. So it doesn't matter that we've got these dreams happening. And what Flanagan says is that dreams are decorative spandrels. And a spandrel is a term used, first of all, in architecture regarding an arch. And when you build an arch, the arch has a function, it does things. And this area here is called the spandrel. So it's a byproduct of creating the arch, and you can put a load of decoration on the spandrel. And so for Flanagan, dreams are decorative spandrels. So they don't have a function, they're just a bit of decoration for us. And just to illustrate this, Swansea in 2010 did a paper in Current Biology in which she had found that, to illustrate these two alternatives, she had found that if you're given a maze task, you learn it, go to sleep, get tested after a nap. The people who've dreamt of the maze task are better then at doing it. Okay? And then they replicated it as well, which is terrific. But both papers, second one's the Journal of Sleep Research with Stickhold, both papers, okay, yes, if you dream of the task, it correlates with the improvement across sleep. But the people who dreamt of the task were doing worse at the task before they went to sleep. So one possibility is the dream's not doing anything. It just shows that you're upset at your performance, or you haven't done very well. You know you haven't done very well in front of these experimenters who've been testing you. So one possibility is the dream has just come along afterwards. It's on your mind. We've already heard about rumination, and just in ordinary people, a bit of rumination there about I didn't do very well on that, and you dream about it. Dream doesn't do anything for you. So her paper with Stickhold, there's two papers, both illustrate these two possible theories you can have about what dreams do. So what happened at Swansea was then for many years, I knew we couldn't work out which of those two theories was correct, but it was interesting that you have dreams. And a lot of the time, the dream is quite metaphorical. Some of the time you look at the dream and you think, aha, that's telling me something, or it's a way of looking at my life, which is novel and interesting. Or you might even tell it to someone and think, wow, that tells me about you or me or whatever, or about myself. And so for many years we did studies in dream groups, where this is one where we collected dreams in the sleep lab. We got REM dreams, non-REM dreams, and daydreams. And we used the method that we're going to use later on for the workshop, where you discuss the dream for about 50 minutes. And you ask people with a questionnaire afterwards, a standard questionnaire, how much did you benefit from discussing the dream? And so we got quite a lot of benefits. We managed to show in a whole string of papers in Frontiers in Psychology and other places, benefits from discussing dreams. And these are personal benefits where you see that there's the metaphors in a dream are relevant to your life, and it gives you some insight about your current circumstances and issues. So we had this is one of the tables that's from Psychology and Consciousness, the APA journal, and I learned more about issues in my waking life from working with the dream. So working with a dream, you learn about your issues. The control group were daydreams. And the control condition, rather, we got non-REM dreams, REM dreams, and daydreams on people. The way we got daydreams in the sleep lab was, we got them wired up. We just heard about how you wire people up in the sleep lab. Got them all wired up, put them down on the bed, say, right, okay, we're going to get ready for the night. We're just going to check the wires now. Give you 10 minutes, and then what we're going to do is practice you on the questions that we're going to ask you during the night. So we'll press a buzzer and say what was going through your mind just before we called. 10 minutes pass. We're looking at the wires, just checking. Outside, so it's all dark in there for the person. We know they're not asleep because we've got the wires on them. And after 10 minutes, we ask them what's going through their mind, and that's the daydream. So we experimentally got a daydream under those conditions. The person didn't know that was going to be data. And that's the daydream. And so then we got them to use the same technique we're going to use in the workshop on the daydream. Think about your daydream and how it relates to your working life. Anyway, so dreams were very, very helpful. But again, we come back to this point that it may be useful for you to look at your own dreams. You may get personal insight, and you do, because that's what the papers were saying. But we still don't know whether the dream was doing anything during the night. So, what I did was, I proposed we were going to have the British Science Festivals coming to Swansea in 2016. And I've been running dream groups, so I said to them, why don't I run dream groups? Discussed this with Julia Lockhart, who's an artist, and I said, right, okay, I'm going to have these public dream groups there as part of the festival, see what happens, see whether people like them or not. And she said, I'll paint them while they dream, while they discuss the dream, and then they can have the painting afterwards. So the ESRC funded it, I've been funding it, and this is actually at the Freud Museum in London. That's Julia there. That's the monitor up there, a bit like this one's going to be later, showing the process of the painting of the dream occurring. And this is actually in Freud's bedroom upstairs in the Freud Museum. If ever you're in Northwest 3 in London, it's well worth going there to see the house. It's got tons of stuff. Managed to ship practically the entire contents of his flat from Bergasse in this small street in the middle of Vienna. And they managed to get that out and get it to London. So that's there, those are these artefacts. Up here on the wall is a picture of him sort of scowling or looking rather. So we're doing this with that in mind. And this is me discussing the dream. The audience is here and we have a really good discussion about it while Julia paints it. We've done it at Paris Institute of Advanced Studies. We actually had a famous neuroscientist at that did the dream, which was, and the dream we realised during it was about doing grant applications when you're on holiday, and it was a very metaphorical dream. Nothing about grants in it, but then we all realised, oh, that's what it's about. This is the BBC Science presenter Marnie Chesterton. She came to the sleep lab and told us about the dream. Her brother's alive, but her brother had died in the dream. She was comforting him after an accident and cradling his head. And it was quite an upsetting dream, actually, but Marnie was great. This is how we give people it afterwards. We don't frame them usually because you've got to transport it to glass. But that's the painting, which is enlarged, which is what Julia does, and that's the dream underneath. Julia actually does the painting onto pages torn live, as you will see later, from Freud's book, The Interpretation of Dreams. And this was Julia's idea, because she knew this from another artist who has painted onto a book and used the shape of the words on the book. And it's also part of surrealism as well, his ability to merge things in that way. And so that's painted onto Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams, and we've got the permission of the publisher to use tear out pages, use them in artworks, and we've got 24 of them or so in our book. So they've allowed it to be a proper project, which is used for public art afterwards, art to show the public. This one was one at the University of California that we did of a young student who just finished her exams and was dying. She wasn't British or anything, she just dreamt of a Peter Pan scene of diving into the Thames next to Big Ben. So, anyway, all that was happening. We thought, right, okay, we are going to get people to, I better check the time. What's the time? Oh, that my time. Yeah. Great, okay, right. So we're doing this in a way as a public service or good for other people, and they'll get insight from their dreams, and that was it. We were using a technique that a psychoanalyst had invented for public appreciation of dreams. Now, after a little while though, we started to realise, and in fact in one instance in particular, an event we had at Swansea Vivian Art Gallery, the effect that that one dream in particular, and then we noticed it afterwards, was having on us. And we suddenly realised, it's not just the dreamer who's benefiting from this. We're not so much benefiting as being really impacted by what we're learning about your life. And this was quite breathtaking and poignant. And many dreams that I've heard and we've heard since then really are poignant ones. And so we wondered, maybe the purpose of the dream, or maybe the main effect of the dream, is not a benefit to yourself in your brain during the night, or even the benefit for you, well, it can be sometimes, when you discuss it in the morning and the insights you get. Maybe there's another big effect, which is an effect on other people, on the person who's discussing the dream with you. So we did 2 experiments on that, and we wrote them up in, got them published in Frontiers in Psychology. And what we did was, got 27 pairs of participants. One of them would share the dream with the other one. We gave both of them a state empathy questionnaire. I can feel my friend's partner's emotions. I can see my friend partner's point of view. I recognise my friend partner's situation. All this. And we got a baseline measurement of how much empathy the person, these are friends or partners or in a relationship, how much empathy they feel towards the other person. The dream sharer towards the discusser, and the discusser towards the dream sharer. After we got the baseline, they were then going to, once a dream occurred, they would meet, discuss the dream, and then fill out the questionnaire again. And this is what we published there. What we found was that the person who's the sharer, their baseline empathy towards the discusser didn't change. In fact, it went down very, very slightly, but not significantly. So there's no change in their empathy towards the other person. But the discusser has a significant increase in empathy that they feel towards the other person as a result of the discussion they've just had of the dream. So in the paper we pointed out, well, maybe there's this empathy-inducing effect of discussing dreams. And the mechanism for this is derived from a lot of work which is done on fiction. And engagement with fiction can increase your empathy, and is correlated with empathy, because it puts you into the point of view of another character. So we related it to that theory and all of that work that's being done on fiction and empathy. And here's a paper on fiction and empathy. Fiction in Transcognitive Sciences. Fiction, simulation of social worlds. Fiction is the simulation of selves in interaction. And when we saw that, well, dreams are like that as well. So the dream is a fiction. But what these authors are writing about is fiction is the simulation of selves in interaction. People who read it improve their understanding of others. This effect is especially marked with literary fiction. So there's an empathic effect of engaging with fiction. And of course, dreams are fictional. They've almost never, apart from PTSD, some PTSD dreams, copy what's happening in waking life. They're almost always original. So they are a form of fiction. But then what we wondered was the following. We've already spoken about spandrels earlier on. Barrett, in a paper on evolution and dreams, says spandrels can become subject to evolutionary selective pressures. So for example, if you're an animal with a heartbeat, and the mother animal has a heartbeat, which is, the sound of it is an epiphenomenon. It's just the way the heart's evolved. But if that heartbeat soothes the infant, then the heartbeat can start evolving. It might become louder, it might have a certain sound to it or whatever. And so what was a spandrel, what was an epiphenomenon, can then start to evolve. So what we wondered about, and we put it in that 29 paper, is maybe across human prehistory, dream formation and content has changed. Okay? There may have been rudimentary hominid dreams, even cat dreams and dog dreams. They may have even dreamt or still do. But the problem is that once you start telling your dream to others, what was a spandrel can start to evolve, especially if it's got information about other people or about yourself. And so we speculated that their dream content might support self-disclosure and empathy. And across human history, storytelling and the ability to make stories has evolved, and the brain has evolved to be able to do it. Maybe the brain's evolved to create dreams as well, and for the same reason that it's evolved to tell stories and to devise stories. And we link this to human self-domestication. This is one of the books, Survival of the Friendliest. Human self-domestication is the theory that humans have evolved to and have domesticated each other. So whereas we have got domestic cats, that's my daughter's cat, and dogs, so the dog, the friendly wolves, who weren't too aggressive or whatever, and maybe a little bit more outgoing, decided to start getting towards the humans' campfires. They get an interaction which is actually quite useful, and the wolf becomes slowly domesticated. And so the idea is that domestication happens. It can even happen to foxes. There's work being done in Russia in Stalinist periods, in which after a few generations of foxes, if you choose the foxes that are the less aggressive ones and the more playful ones, they mate together. You get more and more domesticated foxes after a few generations. And of course, the most famous example of domestication in the animal kingdom is bonobos, which are very domesticated and very friendly to each other, and extremely friendly and sexual towards each other. But they have they're supposed to be the height of domestication in animals. So the idea is that dreams have been part of human self-domestication. Obviously, as we're all scientists, or a lot of us are scientists, or just general people will know, other texts might also have this effect. Self-domestication means you get empathy towards other people. That's part of it. You mentalize, which is you can see that other people have got their own mental state and their own way of seeing the world. So mentalizing is appreciating that other people have their own point of view, their own history, and you can take that into account. So the idea here is that dreaming may have helped in getting us to mentalize and have empathy and be part of self-domestication. So the dream helps you disclose yourself to other people. Scientifically, we know that a daydream or a meaningful event, telling someone else that, or a favourite film, they can disclose you. But the idea is that a dream might elicit discussion that might not otherwise have occurred. So they can be quite useful. And things like dreams that occur near the end of life can be exceptionally poignant. So they may in fact cause a discussion to happen that might not have happened otherwise. The dream could be nature's / evolution's way of forcing us to self-disclose. So we've got a paper on human self-domestication in International Journal of Dream Research, where we go through other data in the same way and say, the authors think this is happening in the night. It's not. The effect, we could speculate, happens in the morning as well. So we've got a whole load more about this. This is in our book, Science and Art of Dreaming, where we get a lot of background to this theory and also the science and art of dreaming in general. And thank you for that.
Brilliant, thank you. Do you have some quick questions?
Yeah, I don't mind. I didn't know if I went over it. Look at the
a little bit.
Oh, a little bit.
Is there another question I have to ask now?
If there was one. But if not, we'll get on pipe.
It's exactly related to what you're talking about recall of dreams. Right? The vast majority of my dreams I forget straight away. I'm going to try, I can't recall them. Yes. There are certain dreams, some which I had years ago, I just cannot get rid of.
Yeah.
They just stay there. Unfortunately, they're usually bad ones.
Yes. Yes. Yes, no, I can quite appreciate that. There will be dreams which you have, and I've had them as well, which you never forget. Carl Jung had this distinction between what he called big dreams and little dreams. And he said that there are some big dreams that you have that are really striking and impactful about your life. And other authors use the word impactful dreams. And other ones are more just about your everyday life, and they just repeat what's on there. I mean, the one that Bob Stickle had was probably one of these really big ones. It's very, very important. And obviously must have stuck with him for him to put it in that book. Yes, no, that's true. But there will also be an effect of dreams are often, unless you're actually in the habit of writing them down or telling them to somebody else, they do disappear extremely quickly. Yes. And so one possibility is even, as even been put forward, that in modern life, because we've got films and other types of fiction to concentrate on, we've lost the willingness for a lot of people have to tell their dreams in the morning. Whereas actually in pre-film, possibly even pre-literature days, there may have been more of a impetus to tell the dream to other people, because it was probably, apart from stories, the only bit of fiction that people made. But yes, you're right. Sometimes the dreams stay with us, and sometimes they are forgotten. One of the reasons that Julia does the painting of the dream while the discussion happens is to make the dream visual again, and to make it permanent in a way, or have that representation so you can go back to your dream repeatedly, because it's been painted. Right, thank you. I don't know if Julie wanted to say anything.
One of our findings, that we've not done research into this, is that people with recurrent dreams, which are kind of disturbing recurrent dreams, when we've gone through this process, and we've had probably about 4 people in a group of quite a large group, but so it's only a small amount. But when they've brought a recurrent dream, the dream has become either completely stopped or become less frequent, and also with the less frequent, less powerful. So it's almost as though when you give the dream the attention it requires, you somehow dissipate the impact that negative dream might have on you. But we've never done that in a controlled way.
Yeah.
This is something we've noticed, and people have told us from this experience of going through working with an image of the dream, and then working with the attention of an hour given to a negative dream.
Yeah. I've just realised we could actually ask people, yes, whether or not they've had that stopped. It's a bit like imagery rehearsal therapy, where for PTSD nightmares and nightmares, that if you give it a particular type of attention, it dissipates. Thank you.
I've got a question. So if we were to start trying to make an effort to recall dreams or write them down, would we get better naturally?
Yes, we do. In fact, that's a very interesting point actually, because on Twitter, the editor of The Psychologist wrote to me publicly just about 2 weeks back, and he said, how do I decrease my dream recall? Which was a very thoughtful question. So I replied that actually it's well known that and there are experiments on this, if you pay attention to your dreams and deliberately write them down and force yourself to remember them, the length of the dream increases in words, and you have them more frequently. So there is the possibility so that is true. The other possibility is if you pay less and less attention and disparage them, maybe you can stop having them so much. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, go for it.
Would it be kind of useful to put it under a more like a broader umbrella term of like understanding, both socially and personally? Because like I really like the idea that it's the sharing that creates understanding with people, but also individually. A lot of the time, like your dream is unconscious elements that are coming in to your consciousness in kind of a bridge way. So for the personal, it's understanding of things that are happening to you or you're not aware of in your day-to-day life, but for the social discussion of that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I did have an email correspondence with someone a couple of weeks back about this, the dream you disclose yourself to other people. And her reply was, and in disclosing yourself to other people, you learn all about
Yeah,
yourself,
it's good to be part of
which
it.
was more nuanced than the simple way I was putting it to you. But that's very true, actually. Yes, it becomes more social that way. You get your own benefit
Yeah.
from having the discussion. But the important thing is that can mean that there really could have been an evolution. You know, that's all so important.
Yeah.
That there could be, because that's important for self-knowledge, group bonding, empathy, everything. There would, across 100,000 years, been 100,000 years, while language has been developed, there really would be an evolutionary push
Yeah.
in a natural selection, because the groups and the people who are doing the genes for that would spread, but also sexual selection as well, because the people who are good at saying the dreams, much as the same as musicians or whatever, have an advantage in, and storytellers may have an advantage in finding partners. So there would be a sexual selection as well across evolution. So I think it is plausible that, as well as us finding the empathy effect in experiments now, that if that's there, it's plausible that across millennia, there's been an evolutionary push for it as well.
I just thought as well, because like going back like pre-industrial, like having that biphasic sleep as well, like sleeping for the first part of the evening and then waking up in the early hours of the morning, and then sharing that time for being sharing anyway, and then going back to sleep again, and then waking up, you'd like double down on the
you get
the
more
path
of
selection and
you get more of them. And the REM sleep periods was mentioned earlier on, and you get longer and longer REM periods, no doubt for biological reasons, across the night. Now this process may have piggybacked on that, because you're having the long REM periods near the end of the night for a biological reason. And that happens to be when the dreams occur as well. Just before you wake up, nice long dream. And so this epiphenomenon, what was an epiphenomenon, may have piggybacked on what we've been hearing earlier on. And you get these nice long dreams. The spandrel becomes subject to the evolutionary pressure as a result. And you're going to sit there. And it's important that, please, if you don't look at the...
Sit here.
Don't look at that. That's great.
No, if you go in that.
Oh, sorry, in that one, I mean. Sorry, yes, sorry.
But then I have to hear you as well.
Oh,
that's great. Yeah.
Great. Would you mind telling everyone your name?
Emily.
Emily.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you, Emily. And, right, I'm going to write it down as it's said, because that's sometimes often helpful, because it especially makes sure that we cover as much of it as possible, okay? So as you know from the sheet that you've got, the first stage is for the dream to be told. The dream might be told 2 or 3 times, and then we ask questions about it. Okay? So I'll just get my thing out so that it's... and this session finishes at... half 4. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yes, no, that's great. Thank you. Great, okay. So, Emily.
Hi.
Emily, right, okay. Would you mind saying your dream to everyone?
Okay, so should I say a bit more than I did in that synopsis?
Yeah, please, that was just the synopsis.
Okay. I might close my eyes.
Yes, please do.
So, the beginning of the dream, myself and my husband, Ali, I might say his name is Ali instead of my husband sometimes, we're trying to get home from a foreign destination, and we don't have our kids with us, but we're kind of aware, I'm aware of their existence, but I'm not overly concerned they're not with us. I think it's like a Eastern European country where we shouldn't really be, that we need to get out of because of problems with war, threat, danger. There's worries over lost passports, not knowing where to get to, how to get the flight. Everything in the dream was very kind of like dark colours and maroon and black, and there was kind of a lot of silence, but a heavy silence, and we were trying to get to the thing. No one could speak to us. Anyway, we make it onto the flight. We fly back to the UK. we get back to the UK, and for some reason when I arrive, we have to travel back to my home village, which is a village just outside in South Wales, in Surrey. And I haven't lived there for many years, but it's really important we go back for some reason. We're travelling by car, we start to get to the village, and we realise that there's not going to be anyone at the property which we're meant to be going to, which my parents haven't lived in for many years, but we're assuming that they're going to be there, but then all of a sudden it's apparent that they're not going to be there, and for some reason we need to access some kind of amenities or something quickly, so I try and scramble and think where else we could go. I recognise a house on the main road, which was a house of a family friend, which then I approach, and I can like vividly, it's very vivid, we're in the garden, and we try and get into the house through the back door, and they've got kind of a conservatory on the back, and we get in, we kind of use the amenities. I think we need to try and get like electric to charge our phones. When the homeowners come back, who we then realise are the son of the people that used to live there, and I'm very embarrassed, ashamed that we've broken into this house, but you know, they seem kind of relatively okay with it, but there's a lot of shame that we've done this kind of thing to get in, and we're in the garden, and there's lots of people arriving. It appears they're about to have like a big party, like a garden party, and I see someone who I used to know well, is still called Johnny Two Hats, and I kind of, oh hi, how are you? And he kind of recognises me, and he's not as loving, and you know, he's like, oh hi, and then he whispers to someone else, oh it's Emily, like just kind of I don't feel positive in his response, and we carry on kind of there at this kind of garden party, and I can feel like threat building. And I know at this point that I'm like a really good like fighter, like a physical fighter, like kind of a hand-to-hand combat person, that I know that I can do this. I need to, like, if these people or the threat that's coming arrives, I'm going to have to throw down and like fight these people. And they start to arrive, and they're kind of like ninja-esque people. And there's like me, who is also starting to kind of embody some kind of like ninja style fighter, and there's kind of little skirmishes between me and these people in amongst the party guests, and everyone's just kind of not paying attention really to this threat that I'm trying to keep back, and this carries on, and it's really difficult to kind of manage, and sometimes I'm wearing a red dress, and sometimes I'm actually dressed in kind of traditional combat gear, like, but more akin to kind of taekwondo clothes. And then there's the lion. The lion starts to come in and out of the garden. I try and shut it out of the gates. People keep opening the gates. I try and shut it in the house. People keep opening the house up. The lion keeps coming out and being really aggressive. And it's kind of not really focused upon by other people, but like I'm fighting it and it's biting me. I'm getting injured, but then I'm kind of getting it back into its enclosure or whatever I'm trying to put it in. And then all of a sudden, in the garden in the middle, there is like an MMA style fighting cage thing. I'm in there, the lion's in there, and I fight the lion. And I don't know if I win or not.
But the house is a sort of red brick house.
Yeah.
And was that a terraced house, or that's
no,
a
it's
separate
it's
house?
a detached house.
Right.
It's on a road where all the houses are different. It's like one of those houses, like all quite big houses. Do you want to say more about the house?
Yeah,
or?
just any description of
Yeah,
that house.
so
the
it's
second
got
one.
it's quite wide, and then it's got like 3 windows at the top, 2 at the bottom, and a doorway with a like porch thing. And then at the back, 3 at the top, 2 windows at the bottom, and then a glass back door, and then like it's got like a lean-to, like an old style conservatory, and it's definitely like a shabby chic kind of, that kind of vibe house.
Right.
It's
Okay.
falling apart a bit, but it's still lovely, like it's got a lovely vibe.
Right, and you broke into that one through the back?
Yeah,
Through the back.
yeah.
And was the party only in the house, or was it in the garden as well?
It was
at the back?
only in the garden.
It was only in the garden?
So actually all of it took place in the garden, because even when the son and his partner came back, we were already in the garden, he was in the garden, and we were like, oh God, sorry, we've done this thing, and
Right.
yeah, so it was all kind of in the garden, but the house is like there.
Yeah, the red brick house
Oh,
is there.
and the only time I go in the house is to try and put the lion in the house, like shut the door, put it in a room,
Right.
yeah.
And the people keep stopping you from
Well, someone
putting
just-
the lion away?
Well,
and
I put the lion
taking
away,
it.
and then someone needs to, to go to the toilet, so they open the door, out comes the lion, and I keep trying to say, don't open the door, because there's a lion, and I've managed to contain it, and everyone's like bimbling around, reopening things, and
Right. And the cage for fighting the lion, is that's in the garden, is it?
that's also in the garden, yeah.
Great, okay. And what did the first house look like? Because that's the second one is separate and red brick.
Yeah,
and
so the
first one-
first house, weirdly, even though I can imagine it, and actually I dream of it a lot, we don't actually get to it, because something happens where it's brought to my attention that they just won't be there. So we don't arrive at it at all. So it's like we kind of are travelling, and then as we enter Surrey, we kind of don't ever go up to the house, which is further up in the village. We kind of go, oh, they're not going to be there. So we're, although it's interesting to me, it's like, why didn't I break into that house? Which is, yeah, just kind of, but anyway, that's, yeah, something that's come into my head.
Right, okay, so at first you thought my parents will be there,
Yeah,
but on the way there you realise no, they won't be, and that's
Yeah.
when you go to the other
the
house.
other house,
So
yeah.
you only see the one house.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's great, thank you. There are some hands up for, oh, there's one at the back over there.
Were there any sounds or music that was important in the dream?
I mean, in the airport at the beginning, it was like there was lots of mechanical sounds, like steel and clanging. But then also, that was kind of like when we were outside, in outside areas, but then at the airport. But then inside the airport, there was this like heavy, like this silence that you only get in like these kind of highly carpeted rooms. Like there was no acoustics, it was just silent. And then on the aeroplane as well, it's that feeling of like silence in a, I don't know, yeah. It's like that weird silence. And then at the party, I mean, there's a background kind of tinkling of glasses, and I think there was like music, but it was that again, like which I've really never been to, the kind of party where they had like a little 3-piece quartet playing or something, like a nice background music, like fancy kind of music. Everything, that it was all quite background though, the sound. I'm just wondering as well, I don't think the lion ever roared in it. No, the lion didn't roar.
Can I just ask something about the two houses in Wales, the two houses in Surrey? So the second house is a sort of red brick
Yeah.
house,
Yeah.
and was that a terraced house, or that's
No,
a
it's
separate
a
house?
detached house.
Right.
It's on a road where all the houses are different. It's like one of those houses, like all quite big houses. Do do you want to say more about the house?
Yeah,
or?
just any description of
Yeah,
that house.
so
the
it's
second
got
one.
it's quite wide, and then it's got like 3 windows at the top, 2 at the bottom, and a doorway with a like porch thing. And then at the back, 3 at the top, 2 windows at the bottom, and then a glass back door, and then like it's got like a lean-to, like an old style conservatory, and it's definitely like a shabby chic kind of, that kind of vibe house.
Right.
It's
Okay.
falling apart a bit, but it's still lovely, like it's got a lovely vibe.
Right, and you broke into that one through the back?
Yeah,
Through the back.
yeah.
And was the party only in the house, or was it in the garden as well?
It was
at the back?
only in the garden.
It was only in the garden?
So actually all of it took place in the garden, because even when the son and his partner came back, we were already in the garden, he was in the garden, and we were like, oh God, sorry, we've done this thing, and
Right.
yeah, so it was all kind of in the garden, but the house is like there.
Yeah, the red brick house is
Oh,
there.
and the only time I go in the house is to try and put the lion in the house, like shut the door, put it in a room,
Right.
yeah.
And the people keep stopping you from
Well, someone
putting
just-
the lion away?
Well,
and-
I put the
and
line
taking
away,
it.
and then someone needs to, to go to the toilet, so they open the door, out comes the lion, and I keep trying to say, don't open the door, because there's a lion, and I've managed to contain it, and everyone's like bimbling around, reopening things, and
Right. And the cage for fighting the lion, that's in the garden, is it?
that's also in the garden, yeah.
Great, okay. And what did the first house look like? Because that's the second one is separate and red brick.
Yeah,
and
so the
one-
first house, weirdly, even though I can imagine it, and actually I dream of it a lot, we don't actually get to it because something happens where it's brought to my attention that they just won't be there. So we don't arrive at it at all. So it's like we kind of are travelling, and then as we enter Sully, we kind of don't ever go up to the house which is further up in the village. We kind of go, oh, they're not going to be there, so we're, although it's interesting to me, it's like, why didn't I break into that house? Which is, yeah, just kind of, but anyway, that's, yeah, something that's coming into my head.
Right, okay, so at first you thought my parents will be there,
Yeah,
but on the way there you realised no, they won't be, and that's
Yeah.
when you go to the other
the
house.
other house,
So
yeah.
you only see the one house.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's great, thank you. There are some hands up for, oh, there's one at the back over there.
Were there any sounds or music that was important in the dream?
I mean, in the airport at the beginning, it was like there was lots of mechanical sounds, like steel and clanging. But then also, that was kind of like when we were outside, in outside areas. But then in the airport, but then inside the airport, there was this like heavy, like this silence that you only get in like these kind of highly carpeted rooms. Like there was no acoustics; it was just silent. And then on the aeroplane as well, it's that feeling of like silence in a, I don't know, yeah. It's like that weird silence. And then at the party, I mean, there's a background kind of tinkling of glasses, and I think there was like music, but it was that again, like which I've really never been to, the kind of party where they had like a little 3-piece quartet playing or something, like a nice background music, like fancy kind of music. Everything, that it was all quite background though, the sound. I'm just wondering as well, I don't think the lion ever roared in it. No, the lion didn't roar either.
Hi.
You mentioned that your husband was there, but he didn't help you. How did that make you feel?
There was something about, I mean, yeah, I was like, it was, I was expectant of it. It wasn't like a shock that it was like, that was how it was. It was like, and I was just more worried that he was going to get hurt. there wasn't like a, why isn't he helping me? It was like more like a, yeah, just like a, this, you know, this is like what I do. This is like how we are, and you know, it was that kind of thing.
Hi.
You mentioned the second house was the house of a family friend when you were younger, and you mentioned the son comes back and sees you and Ali there. Was that son a real person from your past?
Yeah.
Was he the same age as when you knew him last, or was
No, he was the same age as me. Like we were both adults, and I haven't seen him since we were about 15. Yeah.
There's someone up the back. Yeah, hi.
You mentioned that Johnny Two Hats wasn't particularly happy to see you, but how did you feel when you saw him?
I was surprised and then really pleased to see him, and like felt like that, you know, I was moving towards him, felt comfortable, like, and a bit of relief maybe to see someone. And he was good friends with my husband as well, so it was like, oh, this is good. And it was kind of before the bad stuff started happening, so it was kind of a, like, yeah, it was going to be a good thing in my perspective, and then it didn't go like that. You hear quite well everything that everyone said, like the idea actually that the focus was shame, you know, and the shame bit, and you know, because actually when I was remembering it and talking about it twice, it was like all about this fighting the ninjas, fighting the lion, but actually it was the shame thing that was like the most painful, but also the most real. Like it's a thing that can, that does happen in my real life, you know, that shame, and that I was trying to be safe, and in that trying to be safe, like I was feeling ashamed, and that was, I hadn't been able to look at it like that way, and if, you know, that felt good to hear it that way, that was, you know, that is what's happening in that dream. And like just, yeah, validate like the exhaustion, and that it would be okay to feel exhausted after like going through that experience. So that feeling of, oh yeah, like that would be rational to be exhausted, and it to be a lot to deal with.
And it's because it's a lot to deal with, it's in a way shameful, you mean, because you're not able to...
Well, it's just, it's specifically the safety, actually, trying to be safe, and then feeling ashamed because I am and was trying to be safe, and that feeling ashamed unnecessarily, but nevertheless feeling ashamed about that is really important, actually. Yeah, really important.
Right, thank you. Right, well, thank you all for contributing to that bit, which helps that. So now we move on to the next stage, and in that we just ask Emily to say anything you want about what was on your mind the previous day, the previous evening, or any events that happened, or on the day or days before that. Eventually, after having done that, and that's whether or not it's relevant to the dream or not, just say whatever, if you don't mind, whatever was on your mind, or any events or conversations or anything that's been happening. You can also refer to the dream in the sense of associating to the dream and saying, I saw a lion or whatever. So anything that's in the dream, you can say, this relates to this in my waking life. But the main thing is what was happening to you in the days before it.
Yeah, so I mean, interestingly, what's the big, something that now is coming in is, you know, I'm in a life situation where I'm going through something with my place of work where I was assaulted in my place of work, and I'm having to go through a trial with that. And it's a kind of a long story which I won't go into now, but a lot of it was involving some other staff members as well, and they wouldn't listen to us in work that this was a potential problem. And then things kind of went on, and recently I've had all the documentation through from the defence to say why they're saying it wasn't their fault, they did everything they could to mitigate the circumstances.
Yes.
So that's quite a big part of my life, is that's thinking about that and reading those things, you know, in the last few days.
Right, and that was in the days coming up to the dream.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, yes.
And I'm trying to think about other things really. I've been asking my husband for like more help than usual because I've been like stressed and feeling exhausted because of regarding this situation. So I've been asking him to like work from home and different things like that. And I mean he has been doing that. So like, but like I'm just thinking about that connection of asking for help more in my real life, and that being a bit of an experiment at the moment, and being something I have to like consciously move towards. It doesn't just happen easily, and that's been over the last few days as well. Just wondering, I mean the lion, it's not really in my waking life, but I'm fighting lions quite regularly in my dreams.
Right,
It's something
yes.
that comes in a lot, that specific animal. I'm trying to even remember what I've been doing the last few days. It's, yeah, some of it's like, there's, yeah. Well, I've been doing normal everyday stuff like kids drop off, kids pick up. I went to a parents' evening. I'm struggling to like think
no,
of like
no, that's fine. You've said you've said a lot.
Okay.
A lot of things that would be quite overwhelming or very very tough to go through. I mean, your parents' home village and everything. Have there been any thoughts about that, or because that's where you?
Yeah. So like I'm estranged from my dad now, so I don't see him, and that's always like a difficult back and forth of whether to contact him, whether not to contact him. But I haven't been back there recently.
Right.
Yeah.
And John in Two Hats, is there anything about him that would be he'd stand for something else, or why he would be there?
I think he probably was representing shame in a way for me, and shame about other times in my life in my younger years when I haven't been able to make myself heard and keep myself safe. And I was friendly with him during that time, so it was like, I think it was kind of an embodiment of kind of more shame of not being listened to and not being safe, actually. And then him kind of turning away and not talking was was like more shame, different time.
Right. As if of all people he would be the one who'd be helpful.
Well, just representing a time in my life, and like me wanting to like feel better about that time in my life, and doing like work in therapy and things like that. But then when I'm actually trying to face a person from my past, actually there's still obviously a lot of shame because he turned away, and I was kind of left feeling, abandoned, so to speak, in that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the son, who's the son of the
friends?
Yeah, yeah. So like, he was like, when I was younger, he was like the really gorgeous guy in school. And he was the year above me, and our parents were friends. And I'd always, the idea actually that the focus was shame, you know, and the shame bit, and, you know, because actually when I was remembering it and talking about it twice, it was like all about this fighting the ninjas, fighting the lion, but actually it was the shame thing that was like the most painful, but also the most real. Like it's a thing that can, that does happen in my real life, you know, that shame, and that I was trying to be safe, and in that trying to be safe, like I was feeling ashamed, and that was, I hadn't been able to look at it like that way, and if, you know, that felt good to hear it that way, that was, you know, that is what's happening in that dream. And like just, yeah, validate like the exhaustion, and that it would be okay to feel exhausted after like going through that experience. So that feeling of, oh yeah, like that would be rational to be exhausted, and it to be a lot to deal with.
And it's because it's a lot to deal with, it's in a way shameful, you mean, because you're not able to...
Well, it's just, it's specifically the safety, actually, trying to be safe, and then feeling ashamed because I am and was trying to be safe, and that feeling ashamed unnecessarily, but nevertheless feeling ashamed about that is really important, actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, really important.
Right, thank you. Thank you. Right, well, thank you all for contributing to that bit, which helps that. So now we move on to the next stage, and in that we just ask Emily to say anything you want about what was on your mind the previous day, the previous evening, or any events that happened, or on the day or days before that. Eventually, after having done that, and that's whether or not it's relevant to the dream or not, just say whatever, if you don't mind, whatever was on your mind, or any events or conversations or anything that's been happening. You can also refer to the dream in the sense of associating to the dream and saying, I saw a lion or whatever. So anything that's in the dream, you can say, this relates to this in my waking life. But the main thing is what was happening to you in the days before it.
Yeah, so I mean, interestingly, what's the big, something that now is coming in is, I'm in a life situation where I'm going through something with my place of work, and I'm having to go through a trial with that. And it's a kind of a long story which I won't go into now, but a lot of it was involving some other staff members as well, and they wouldn't listen to us in work that this was a potential problem. And then things kind of went on, and recently I've had all the documentation through from the defence to say why they're saying it wasn't their fault, they did everything they could to mitigate the circumstances.
Yes.
So that's quite a big part of my life, is that's thinking about that and reading those things, in the last few days.
Right, and that was in the days coming up to the dream.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
And I'm trying to think about other things really. I've been asking my husband for like more help than usual because I've been like stressed and feeling exhausted because of regarding this situation. So been asking him to like work from home and different things like that. And I mean he has been doing that. So like, but like I'm just thinking about that connection of asking for help more in my real life, and that being a bit of an experiment at the moment, and being something I have to like consciously move towards. It doesn't just happen easily, and that's been over the last few days as well. Just wondering, I mean the lion is it's not really in my waking life, but I'm fighting lions quite regularly in my dreams.
Right,
It's something
yes.
that comes in a lot, that specific animal.
Mm.
I'm trying to even remember what I've been doing the last few days. It's, yeah, some of it's like, there's, yeah. Well, I've been just doing normal everyday stuff like kids drop off, kids pick up. I went to a parents' evening.
Mm.
Yeah, just, yeah, I'm struggling to like think
No,
of like
no, that's fine. You've said
yeah.
you've said a lot, and
Okay.
of things that would be quite overwhelming or very very tough to go through. I mean, your parents' home village and everything. Have there been any thoughts about that, or because that's really
yeah. So like I'm estranged from my dad now, so I don't see him, and that's always like a difficult back and forth of whether to contact him, whether not to contact him. But I haven't been back there recently.
right.
Yeah.
And Johnny Two Hats, is there anything about him that would be he'd stand for something else, or why he would be there?
I think he probably was representing shame in a way for me, and shame about other times in my life in my younger years when I haven't been able to make myself heard and keep myself safe. And I was friendly with him during that time, so it was like, I think it was kind of an embodiment of kind of more shame of not being listened to and not being safe, actually. And then him kind of turning away and not talking was it's like more shame, different time.
Right. As if of all people he would be the one who'd be helpful.
Well, just representing a time in my life, and like me wanting to like feel better about that time in my life and doing like work in therapy and things like that. But then when I'm actually trying to face that a person from my past, actually there's still obviously a lot of shame because he turned away and I was kind of left feeling, abandoned, so to speak, in that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And the son, who's the son of the friends?
Yeah. So like, he was like, when I was younger, he was like the really gorgeous guy in school. And he was the year above me and our parents were friends. And I'd always have to go round there, but he was like gorgeous and cool and wonderful. And I'd always just be like there, like, he'd be hanging around with all the wonderful people, and I'd just kind of be like, oh God, I feel so awkward. And interestingly, at a party once, I was cold, and the mum came down with this like red jumper, and she put it on me. And like then a couple of like the women, and they were all quite glamorous, just went on and on about how good I looked in red. And it was like, just interesting about this red dress that kept coming and being, on me.
Yes. Right. Thank you. Does anybody else have questions? Hi.
I'm just wondering if you do actually do martial arts in your real life.
Well, I did kickboxing for a very short amount of time a couple of years ago, but would not be good in a hand-to-hand combat situation.
I was interested that description of putting the lion in the house and then people kept like leaving the door open so escape felt very kind of real to me, and I was wondering if any stuff around kind of managing kids or managing animals have been happening?
Well, lots of managing kids. Yeah, and also actually really thinking hard about getting a goat, and then like trying to picture all the things the goat might do, looking into goats, looking at lots of pictures of goats, but also just kind of thinking, well, it's either like have a nice garden or have a goat, because the goat will just destroy everything. So I think that is something that's like, you know, and also chickens, and thinking about enclosures and things, and worrying about would it be big enough and okay, and would they be okay. So there's something about enclosures that I have been thinking about as well.
Anything about traveling at all?
Not in recent times. I mean, that the travelling and trying to get out somewhere is a repetitive thing for me as well, because during the pandemic I was living abroad and I had to leave very quickly because we knew that all the flights were stopping and stuff, so we had to kind of pack our home up very quickly after living somewhere for a year and leave the country in 24 hours. So I think that's something that was difficult, and I do think about that a lot, and at the time it was just like, we just got to do this, but actually it's probably something that is a bit of a traumatic event that's kind of ruminates still for me. But no, just think properly about travel. No, not in the last recent times.
And does that mean there's nothing important about Eastern Europe and the sort of quite, I don't know whether it's dingy, but it's maroon and...
Yeah, and it was like there was something, I don't know, it felt very like Soviet, or like I think with everything I'm reading stuff about what's going on with Ukraine and Russia and Trump and things like that, and but interesting, like it was represented as kind of like more, I suppose, what I would associate with like Russian colours. But it was definitely Eastern Europe, that area. What I'm reading, so it's some content intake there.
Right, yes. Any other questions about...
Is there anything unusually disorganised going on recently?
Unusually disorganised?
Yeah, like you're usually quite organised with that, but in the past few days you've not been. Misplacing things and such.
Yeah, I mean, I have done something, like I kept doing it. What was I making? I was making a cake, and I kept cracking the egg, and I had like the food waste bin open, and I kept cracking the egg, and then instead of putting the egg into the bowl and the shell into the food waste, I kept cracking the egg, dumping the egg into the food, and I did it like 3 times in a row, but intermittently. So I did one, and I was like, my God, that was such a stupid thing to do. Then did one normal, and then did the same thing again. And I'm just thinking about, like, I've also been doing a lot of like fish care, because my kids have got quite big aquariums, and that's been like really chaotic, and I've not been concentrating, and you have to suck the water through a tube to siphon it to get it in the bucket, and I'm not concentrating on getting a mouthful of fish water, and it's disgusting. But this, like so it's there's been like an out of whackness for me going on for sure.
Thank you. This ought to be the last one from this section, is that okay? Hi.
What were like your thoughts or feelings when just before you went to sleep and you had the dream?
Oh yeah, so I pull tarot cards every night before I go to bed, and I pulled the Moon and the Fool. So I remember thinking, especially with the moon, it's all about like illusion and kind of secrets and like knowing that you'll be more in touch with your subconscious and to take that perhaps lightly. So I think I kind of felt like I might be in for some kind of illusion-y, kind of darker experiences. So I suppose I was like trying to act with some acceptance towards that possibility. So yeah, that was how I fell asleep, like trying to practice some acceptance at my current situation as it is, with some of the life stresses that I've got going on.
And any thoughts about any metaphorical relations there, or any the dream picking up waking life?
Well, I think about all the fighting in the dream and not being seen or helped, or it not being acknowledged, and then the fighting that you've got going on in your personal life in regards to the work incident and the defence saying that they're not at fault, and that seems to me really, really, I guess, synergistic, that there's this feeling of, well, I don't know what you're feeling, but for me, what's coming up is this idea that there's this feeling of not being seen, not being heard, when something awful's happened to you, and it's been really horrible, and you're not feeling supported or seen, and yet you're fighting so hard to try and protect yourself. And then that seems very similar to the shape of what's unfolding in the dream, with fighting the ninjas and the lion.
Yeah, to build on that, I mean, it's quite an obvious connection, I think, because you're not just trying to protect yourself, you're trying to protect everyone. So, I mean, obviously I don't know what the incident is, but it sounds like it wasn't just you that was in danger, that it might have been other people as well, and you're trying to protect everyone.
Yeah.
But no one is really understanding that it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Everyone's just kind of, thinking, well, it's okay, but it's only you that actually sees the real danger and fights the lion by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what the experience is actually in the waking life, is that at the time I kept being told to focus on my own situation and not try and worry about what would happen to other people, because it was seen as I was like going on about something that wasn't a risk. And so yeah, it's very kind of relevant. And also questioning as well, these people at the party, they weren't really asking for my protection, and that was being told to me, no one's asking you for protection, but like also me wondering, what am I actually doing, who am I protecting, feels quite relevant as well.
And also being protective of your husband as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of looking after other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's something interesting about your decision not to go to your parents' house. Like it feels to me like that's the go-to home, and then at some point on that journey, actually, no, I can't go there, that's not really home, or that's not where I really need to be going. And then this kind of alternative, which is just pretty awful in lots of ways, it feels to me.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of making me, think about now that idea of actually, I've chosen that choice to not go home, but actually is home a bit better than I think it is, or is it safer? because it was so unsafe going to this other destination. It's made me question that.
But your parents then aren't available in the dream either, so there's quite a bit of you're on your own.
Yeah, yeah.
Without getting the help you would usually assume.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, whenever you lost Lion out, you'll get letting it out. It seems like there might be something in your life where people are working against you.
Yeah.
Maybe unintentionally, but they're making your efforts futile.
Yeah. Yeah, that repetitive. Yeah. Or I suppose I'm thinking along the lines of like just doing the same thing over and over again and it not working, or that kind of idea as well. That, yeah, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got, kind of idea. Yeah. Yeah, and that does feel like that could be quite relevant to some parts of my life as well.
Following on from what you mentioned about the choice not to go back to your parents' house, I'm curious about how that might relate to what you mentioned about the relationship or lack of a relationship you've got with your dad in waking life.
Well, always the concern of, whether to try again, that kind of thing.
Has that been figural for you recently?
Yes, it's probably been creeping back in on the cycle, as is life, of, maybe it's, worth another go, the contact, but then is it going to be safe? So I think that is in the field, for sure, at least, and intermittently figural.
I'm thinking about the lion and just thinking about if that could be a part of yourself that you're fighting with, and the fact that it's sort of going back into your childhood, and whether that resonates.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like it's not just another thing, like an outside of me thing. It's something about it, there being some internal conflict that represents, and again, back to the, like, if you always do what you've always done, and that it's perhaps some kind of like introject of something in my life to be ashamed, almost like it's feel ashamed. I can feel it would almost say that if it could say something, as you should be ashamed, as an introject, potentially.
It's just, in a way, it doesn't cut. If I was a bit funny asking, because it's based on something you told me outside of this room, but I'd remembered as you were talking then, you said you had something coming out next week. I was wondering if it's a new situation in which you might feel responsibility towards others. I was wondering if you thought that related.
Yeah.
And maybe a sort of perhaps almost like guarding them against you.
Yeah. Like I'm a trainee psychotherapist, and I'm going to start taking my first clients next week. So there is something, I think that's interesting as well. And that's only something I've known that's going to happen next week, like only about 48 hours, that's coming to like on my calendar, so it's a very new idea that it's going to actually be next Wednesday, so yeah.
But
I'll turn over to Julia, who's
So I sort of halfway through, I realised you could only see half of it happening. So I'm sorry about that. I was not aware of. It's just this is slightly the wrong way. But at the top, I have made the kind of side of a plane, sort of airport sort of space with burgundy flooring and a couple kind of going in this sort of dark colouring into a plain area, and that's how I've represented that top part. And then here is the house and the garden, and this man has two hats. And interestingly, twice in this page, which is page 314 and 315, is the word truncation. And I thought that was really interesting that truncation was next to the man with the two hats, like the two hats have joined together in this kind of truncation. And it says here, be a bad house here in the hat, and inquiry is down here around his neck, with jestingly home, the words that came up there, and then clay here sits next to the red brick house, and then I've used this to break the two sides of that apart. And then down here I kind of started with looking at how to do I was kind of looking on the internet how best to show a lion, not that I draw lions very often, but so he's kind of got his mouth open and his teeth are out, and then this is the sort of ninja covered dreamer who's dressed all in black, slinky black kind of costume with red around the ninja kind of cover over the eyes. And then over here she's kind of like Joan of Arc in the middle of this fighting cage. She sort of looks like Joan of Arc in her red dress, and her long red dress. And here it says, of my relatives, two places, when I see frightened and experience all the sensations of fright, effects in this well-constructed such a way. And I was thinking about the well-constructed being this sort of thing that's being fought within. And then it says here, intense and gloomy impression, the localities in this dream. And it is fitting that, alarmed by the sight, is nothing but a substitute. I am his substitute. And up here, when Mark was talking about my own, that was when I got to that word. So we were talking about her own, so I kind of left that uncovered. And then this section, the reason I chose this section is it was a section of sort of like a quote, so it's all in italics. And through the body here it says, detain him in the head. And then it says, he breathes heavily and tries to get away. I am to send him news in case of need. Immediately afterwards, he sinks to the floor, death. My questions in me, I consider, should give notice over the others. And I thought that was quite nice, how the others, which was part of, everybody was saying, oh, you're thinking about others. So that word others sort of sits there quite centrally. And so does fright here in the head. So, yeah, that's kind of, if you want to come and have a look, please do. I'll put it on the side. And
you know on the top bit, where there's a line dividing the two scenes, there's the white dividing the two scenes. Is that because that was two paragraphs?
Yeah, that was, so I chose it with 4 paragraphs, so the top paragraph and then another paragraph. Then this paragraph is all quotations. And at one point I actually had it, because I wanted that to be the caged area with the quotations. So at one point I kind of turned it upside down, because I kind of wanted that to be at the top. So anyway, and then I thought, no, I can't do it upside down. So yeah, but please have a look and see if you see anything else in it, really.